Did you want to do the ranking of DC stuff, or you want to go to the news and then come back? I think probably ranking of the DC stuff probably.
Yeah, let's do it. I watched a couple of the DCEU movies. I've been like revising my list. I'm ready to go with this shit.
All right, let me pull up your list before I start.
Okay.
So it's Night and Day Nick, right?
Yep. Letterboxd.com/Night and Day Nick. Follow me on there.
All right. Rating for Trace says, "Boy, here we go." Yeah, that's exactly right. Boy, here we go.
Oh boy.
So your list is Rip the DCEU. So
no, it is RIP the DCPU.
DCPU.
Yeah,
all right.
Because for I've been very vocal about my disdain for this whole universe. It is like out of this entire universe, I felt so much like there was so much potential. It's like so much potential in bringing of finally a live action version of the Justice League, seeing Batman and Superman get to interact on screen together. And now you're bringing in Wonder Woman, you're bringing in the Flash, Cyborg, Green Lantern potentially, and the absolute just numbing rage I felt walking out of the theater in April of 2016 after having seen Batman v Superman.
So I got your list right here. Let me share it with people. So explain your list a little bit. You want to go from bottom down, or you want to go from top down? There you go.
Okay, so I'll start from the bottom right here. So the bottom on my list, the absolute worst movie on this entire DCEU, and one of the worst comic book movies I've seen in my entire life, is David Ayer's Suicide Squad. It's a movie that is a complete incomprehensible mess. It is a movie that has some of the most baffling performances I've seen in my entire life. And when you get to the behind the scenes of how this movie came about, where the studio really liked the reaction that the trailers did, so they just hired the trailer house to edit the movie, which clearly a big mistake, because a feature film and a trailer have two very different purposes. And it felt like just amalgamation of a studio trying to recreate stuff they saw much better done in other movies. The one good thing I can say about this is it gave us Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn. And that's the only thing I can say good about this. And also Viola Davis.
Yeah, Viola Davis. You didn't like Will Smith, Deadshot?
The whole thing with the Suicide Squad is these are supposed to be awful, awful people. And Will Smith is just playing likable Will Smith again. Even in the scene where he is like assassinating people and, killing people that are trying to turn state's evidence for the mob, it's like set to this like funky kind of hip hop music, and he's like supposed to be charming throughout it. It's like, do you know what kind of movie you're trying to make and the characters you're trying to set up? And I feel like Will Smith is kind of in that same category of Dwayne Johnson, where he is such a slave to his kind of like nice guy image that he refuses to do anything like even a little bit take a role that could even slightly tarnish that reputation.
Yeah, does have your girl on it from The Boys. She playing Katana. Katana. She has the souls, kills.
Yeah, this is Katana. She's got my back. I would advise not getting killed by her. Her sword traps the souls of its victims, which, Karen Fukuhara, I love you. You have so much talent, especially in, I just saw The Boy and the Heron. I love The Boys, all of her stuff as far as voice acting. She is unbelievably charming, and I want so bad for Hollywood to just let her speak in a movie.
Yeah, she's cursed, man. Oh, man. So what else you got on your list here? Let me pull it up.
Okay. All right. So next up on my list is the most recent and the final nail in the coffin. It is Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. This movie, it has a lot of the same problems as Suicide Squad has, in that it is just such a victim of never-ending reshoots, of a director that it feels like he didn't even want to come back to this world. An lead actor in Jason Momoa, who I like as the character. I feel like he just hasn't had a great movie where he has gotten to show that. And it's just such a letdown. It's like the character arcs don't make any sense. The only thing that I thought worked about this was all the scenes between Jason Momoa and Patrick Wilson, which, okay, that's cool, but the turn that Orm has in this, it made no sense considering the character that we left at the end of the first Aquaman.
Mm, yeah. Yeah, I just don't think Jason Momoa, his charisma could save this movie. I think
Mhm.
it was just seemed like it was kind of a mess all around.
It took all the problems I had with the first Aquaman because my problems with that. Okay, I'll get to my problems with that first movie, but the main thing is it's trying to do too much into one film. And when you're trying to juggle this many balls, you don't get to focus on anything.
Mm, yeah. The only thing I kinda liked about Aquaman 2 was his relationship with Patrick Wilson. I think the
Mhm.
duo kinda like, that was kinda the buddy cop kinda element. That was about it. And Rated Maturity said with the Suicide Squad movie, said this movie has a scene where Batman attacks a parent in front of their kid in an alley. Yeah, this shot, yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
which again, because we'll get to it with Batman v Superman, but you've established that Batman is a cold-blooded murderer in this universe. Why is the Suicide Squad even a thing? Why are there any criminals that are even alive?
mm, wow. Next movie.
Okay, so next movie on the list is Wonder Woman 1984. Much like with me, I understood what Patty Jenkins was going for. They were trying to establish more of Gal Gadot's arc inside this world, introduce like an arc of temptation, but all of it just feels flat and feels like it was a movie that didn't know what it wanted to be. And that's completely ignoring all the problematic shit that goes on with this movie. And a huge thing about the first Wonder Woman was that the whole thing with Wonder Woman is that she doesn't need a man, and her entire arc in this is I miss my boyfriend.
She's horny. Miss her boyfriend, man.
I need some dick.
Yeah. Also, this does the sin of any like prequel where it kind of contradicts the
Mhm.
information that we already know. Because I think in Wonder Woman, when she first shows up in
Yeah,
Batman v Superman,
it's like it's established that she's kind of been a recluse. She's been in hiding since the end of the first Wonder Woman.
yeah. But
It
then
was
this,
like they tried to play that up as like she's like knocking out security cameras, but she stops in the middle of a public place in this.
yeah,
And the whole thing with bringing Steve Trevor back, it way overcomplicates it, and it adds so much of a grosser element to this. It's like she gets the wishing stone, and her wish is to have Steve Trevor back. Okay, there's some interesting stuff you can do with that, but Steve Trevor's spirit just possesses the body of this poor dude, and they turn Wonder Woman into essentially a rapist in this.
and Immature says she also robs that guy and eats his food and takes his clothes on top of violating his body.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Huh.
And also, like a thing where you're trying to do that thing of this oddly specific trope that comes from comic book movies. It's like you give us a character that is like overly just uncoordinated. It's like very just awkward with Kristen Wiig as Cheetah. And when she is finally like getting the powers and she kind of takes vengeance on her like would-be rapist, they're trying to play it up as like, oh my god, this is so awful. It's like, motherfucker, you're the one who stopped him earlier and just left him to rape again.
Yeah, and then she also gets like two wishes. Like she wishes to be, kind of powerful, and then I want to be
Yeah,
apex predator, and then
yeah,
she
it's like the
turns in.
mechanics of the wishing stone in this movie don't really make sense. And it's like even in our review, I was trying to like wrap my head around it. And the more I think about it, yeah, this completely falls apart. The one good thing I can say about this is Pedro Pascal as Maxwell Lord. He feels like he knows exactly what kind of movie he is in, and he is chewing up that scenery.
All right, what you got next?
Okay, next up is a movie that ended up on my worst of list. It's The Flash. Ugh. I've already talked about this movie ad nauseum. It feels like it's for as long as we have waited for this movie because this was in development back when The Flash premiered on the CW, and this has gone through so many iterations, so many different directors, so many reshoots, rewrites. It just becomes a Frankenstein's monster of a movie, and it completely falls flat as far as like giving us a compelling character arc for Barry Allen. It just completely undermines what it was going for, because the whole point of the Flashpoint is Barry Allen realizes the folly of time travel and realizes all the damage that he can do, and he vows to not do it again. And what does he do? Exactly that at the end. Says, fuck all that.
Yeah. This is also one of the biggest flops of 2023.
Good.
You know, it's
Good.
Incredibly high budget.
Yeah. $300 million and bombed, which good.
What else you got?
Even the nostalgia bait, and it's like we talk about like so many of comic book movies, so many blockbusters purely relying on nostalgia. This is the most egregious offender.
Oh, yeah.
It's like just dragging out the corpses of actors like George Reeve and Christopher Reeve, Helen Slater, people like Nicolas Cage, Adam West, not even having the goddamn decency to get a stand-in to map CGI, using fucking AI to fucking recreate them. Fuck this movie.
Sound like this should be last, man.
There is a reason that this is not last. And the one reason is because of Michael Keaton returning as Batman. He is the one thing I genuinely liked about this movie.
Didn't you like Sasha Calle too as a superhero?
I liked her performance in this. It just felt like she was given nothing. And her entire character in this is just a plot device.
All right. What you got next?
All right, next up is one of the final like nail in the coffins of the DCEU. Is like 2 weeks after this movie came out and bombed, they announced that James Gunn took over the studio and is rebooting, and that's Black Adam. It's like, you know, The Rock's ego project in the DC universe, his like power play to, you know, the hierarchy of the DC universe will change forever, and he was kind of right.
Well, just not the way he hoped.
Yeah, it was a monkey's paw wish, as a monkey's paw gets. It's like the whole like charm of a character like Black Adam is he is a villain character. He is supposed to exist more on that moral gray area of the DC universe. He's supposed to be like this foil for Shazam, and the entire thing is like The Rock is just playing it as The Rock, except he doesn't smile. It's like the villains in this, they are the most forgettable villains in a sea of forgettable villains in the DC universe.
Yeah.
There are cool elements. Like I liked the introduction of the JSA. I liked Aldous Hodge and Pierce Brosnan as Dr. Fate.
Yeah, I did like that as well. You also see Adam as well as in this.
Adam Smasher, who I thought was good casting with Noah Centineo, who we saw in the To All the Boys movies, who I think is a charming actor. He just doesn't get anything to do.
So why did you put this above The Flash?
Because I put this above The Flash because it's not as egregiously offensive as The Flash is to me. It was like, as bad a movie as I think this is, I feel like, one, it's consistent. It kind of stands on its own. It's not dragging out, people out of their graves. It's not entirely relying on me aggressively remembering movies that were way better than it. And, even for as flawed as the movie is, it's like, if this came out in like 2005, I probably would have really dug it.
Yeah. The best superhero movie of 2005.
Yeah, this kind of exists on the same level as Venom for me.
And yeah, I mean, it was trying to follow that trend of a lot of these villain movies that the villains getting their own solo movie, like Venom, Joker. Those were wildly successful. This, Black Adam is not on the level of.
If the DCEU was kind of like on crutches before, this is the one that put it down for good.
So what's your number 11?
Okay, number 11, and I'm kind of cheating a little bit here, but it is the 2017 theatrical cut of Justice League. And so much of the problems of this universe is that, so many of the movies are the victims of the studio overreacting to the critical backlash of previous films, them wanting to go a little lighter. And of course, the departure of Zack Snyder from the theatrical version because of the suicide of his daughter Autumn, which condolences. But and and even as flawed as this movie is, for just a pure spectacle, cut it on in the background, it's fine. But it is, when you get down deeper into it, it is an incomprehensible mess. You get characters like Aquaman, like the Flash, Cyborg, who are barely characters in this movie. It's focusing mostly on Wonder Woman. The entire arc with the whole Whedonism things, because the theatrical cut was directed and reshot to hell by Joss Whedon. It felt like it is a case where you can literally point out where it's one director's version of it and another's, which I feel like is egregious. But the only reason this isn't lower on my list is because I feel like the other movies I have below it are way worse and way bigger offenders.
Yeah. Yeah. I thought with Justice League, this is the Joss Whedon Justice League that he directed. That he came in after Zack Snyder come, and then he added in all his Whedonisms, all the fucking lame ass jokes and humor. They tried to make him punch it up. It's like, hey, the thing you did for Avengers, do that for us.
Here.
Do that for.
Which on paper should work. Especially because like a whole charm of Justice League comics is that, Batman is kind of like the sourpuss straight man of this whole team. And everybody else is kind of like very bright, very colorful.
Yeah. But there's some things I like. I mean, I still like Ben Affleck's Batman. I think he's good. Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman is good.
It's like one of the few times I've liked Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman. And it's the first time in this universe that Henry Cavill as Superman felt like Superman. It was like he was like more of that kind of like paragon of truth, justice, the American way, and all that. And it was like the opening of the movie. It is him, talking to a bunch of kids about like him being Superman, which I do not picture the Snyder version of the character ever doing.
Yeah, but that's when he had that weird CGI.
Yeah.
Rating from Tree said, I think Whedon's humor might have worked better for a Justice Society movie. Maybe, because those characters
possibly,
kind of older, school. But then in here, it's kind of presented that, it's a lot of kind of like, well, the team, it seems like they have different iterations of the team. So maybe if you did one more from the 50s or the 60s, that would have kind of maybe worked there. But it's just funny that in this Black Adam movie it introduces all these heroes that we've never known about in this whole universe.
Yeah, and and we'll get to it with the entry later.
Yeah,
but
so
we'll get more into that.
What's your number 10?
So number 10, it is Batman v Superman.
Now, did you see the Ultimate cut, or is this the regular theater?
Okay, all right. The reason I was so down on this universe from jump was seeing the theatrical cut, and I'm kind of putting both versions on this on the same entry of the list. It's because while conceptually Zack Snyder was the wrong person to try and create a cinematic universe, because I feel like so much of his sensibilities do not fit the character of Superman. It's like, even when you're getting a character that is more closely aligned with him, with a character like Batman, he like takes it to such an extreme. It's like, okay, Batman is now a cold-blooded murderer in my universe, and I'm trying to build something around him and Henry Cavill's Superman. Cavill, he feels like he is a product of a director that fundamentally misunderstands Superman. It's like altruism is stupid to Zack Snyder, which it's the wrong person to take on this kind of universe. And even for, as flawed as the theatrical cut of it is, like, entire scenes are cut out. It's like character arcs that, plot holes are just about aplenty. Is like this entire opening set piece in Africa where it's like Superman rescues Lois from this African dictator. It's like they're trying to put Superman on trial. It's like, he didn't kill those people. It's like, it's ridiculous. And the Ultimate Edition, it fills in a lot of plot holes, but this movie is still a fucking mess.
Yeah. This is the first introduction we have of Batman, Ben Affleck, and then also Gal Gadot's Wonder Woman.
The one thing that I think is awesome is every scene where it's Ben Affleck's Batman interacting with Jeremy Irons' Alfred. that feels like it is made out of a completely different film. It feels like these are two actors that understand the dynamic between them, and it feels like a older Batman who's kind of like disillusioned with his war on crime, and
Mm.
all of that stuff really works until you get to the action set pieces where Batman is murdering people with guns, which are like the two things that Batman is not allowed to do.
Yeah. That's one of the things I did love. I did love not him shooting a bunch, not him being murder man, but I did love the whole Jeremy Irons. I think he's a great Alfred. I think their back and forth is really good. Like Alfred, he's got the snarkiness of Alfred, and how he kind of takes shots at him. You
Even
know,
you've gotten too old to die young, Master Wayne.
yeah,
Not
or like that.
for lack of trying.
And that scene, like, because I was watching it again, and I watched the Ultimate Edition, so I watched the 3 hour plus version of it, and I like the scene where I think there's also in the theatrical version too, but the scene where he kind of comes in and Bruce Wayne, he's got a woman in his bed, he's drinking, he's like, and I hope that the other future generations of Waynes will have a wine cellar to inherit, if there
Not that
is
there'll
anymore.
be, not that there'll be. Which a lot of the best dialogue, it's pulled straight from The Dark Knight Returns.
Mm, okay, that makes a lot of sense
And
then.
it feels like Zack Snyder has only read 2 comic books in history, and that's Watchmen and The Dark Knight Returns.
What's your number 9 movie?
I'm sorry, I just have to address this comment from Rated M for immaturity. So people, yeah, it's
Oh,
like he's saying, people do forget Michael Keaton's Batman was a mass murderer too, especially in the second one.
yeah,
And at the time, like even Adam West killed people. But
yeah,
at the time, it's like the comic books weren't as much in the zeitgeist. It's like those movies weren't trying to build a universe of superheroes around the character, and so much of them is even down to the core conflict of Batman v Superman is like, okay, Batman wants to kill Superman because he murdered hundreds of people,
yeah. See,
and
watch this right here.
Superman wants to beat up Batman because he also kills people. Where's the conflict? It's like
I mean,
both of you are fucking murderers.
this is my favorite Batman kill somebody moment right here.
Oh, he's a psychopath in this movie.
'Cause look at the smile on his face right here. Like, look at that. Fucking fucked up, man. Fucking crazy. Look at it.
Okay, the caveat is, this was after the 89 Batman, and the studio wanted Tim Burton to come back so badly, they gave him carte blanche to make whatever kind of movie he wanted. Damn the comic books, damn the canon.
So what's your number 9 movie there, man?
Okay, number 9, it's a movie I initially liked more when I first saw it, and that's Shazam: Fury of the Gods. I liked, the reintroduction of Shazam and his family. I liked the dynamic between all those characters. But the big flaw of this is that, one, the villains are very forgettable. Even though I feel like Helen Mirren and Lucy Liu are giving more to a very thin script than any other project would deserve. I feel like Zachary Levi, he doesn't feel like he is. It doesn't feel like he had even a conversation with Asher Angel about how they wanted to play Billy Batson in this movie, because Angel is playing this like it is more of a coming of age story about him, realizing the kind of like trials and tribulation of growing up because his character is aging out of the foster system and that fear of losing this newfound family that he has. And so much the emotional stuff works in this movie, especially towards the third act with Marta Milan's as Billy's adopted mother and their scene together. I was in tears at that moment. But it's immediately undercut with this fucking expression that Zachary Levi has.
Mm. Yeah, that's my kind of one of my biggest problems is that it feels like they're on 2 separate pages. Like Zachary Levi as Shazam feels like he's playing the character like 5 years younger than what
Mhm.
Astra Angel is doing.
It's like, this dude is almost 18, right?
Yeah, so and then it doesn't work because like, there's the other girl who's the foster girl that's like, she's an adult, but she
Mhm.
stays her regular form, but then if this kid is like, he's
I mean,
18.
I'm not gonna complain about seeing Grace Carey in that suit.
Yeah, she does look good, and also you have, Coretta Scott King in this, Megan Good. You got her in this,
Yeah, she is the I think the standout of the because I feel like all of the adult actors playing the Shazam family, I feel like they do a good job of kind of mimicking the performances of their younger counterparts, but she does it the best out of all of them.
She does. I think she is really good at it. Yeah, and then the villains are kind of like you said, Helen Mirren, Lucy Liu. They're kind of forgettable type stuff
They're
there.
forgettable, but they are good in the movie.
Yeah, and this movie does have some, I think, good funny moments, and the family
Mhm,
stuff I like. All the family stuff I do like
mhm.
that, especially the adoptive parents. That's really good too. So yeah. So what's your number 8 movie?
Okay, number 8 is a movie that I really I have a complicated relationship with my next movie, and that's Man of Steel, the 2013 film directed by Zack Snyder, because I feel like this
Real
movie for
real
its
quick. Is
Mhm.
that Vanessa? Is that
Yeah,
she's
yeah,
oh, okay. Wilson
yeah,
Fisk, yeah.
yeah, Islet Zurer plays, Lara, who plays, Superman's mother in this.
Oh, nice. Okay.
And I feel like a big problem with this movie is because the first 2 acts of this are so damn good. Because like the first 2 acts are almost a near perfect Superman movie for as flawed as it. And forget all the, Pa Kent supposed to be, the man made who made Clark Kent the man that he is, the guy who instilled this inherent goodness, this optimism, this love for humanity. And Kevin Costner and Zack Snyder and to an extent David Goyer just write Pa Kent as this nihilist, this very Ayn Randian, just what, fuck other people. It's like this whole movie is nearly derailed by this conversation that young Clark and his father have. It was like after he saved a bus full of children. It's like, what was I supposed to do? Let him drown? And Pa Kent is just like, maybe.
Maybe. I mean,
and so much of it is like you could fix that with one line. It's like, maybe. No, of course not.
mm, yeah. This was the movie that started it all. This was the first movie in the
Mm.
DCEU, Man of
Yeah,
Steel.
and it feels like it feels like this movie was meant to be something more standalone. This was supposed to be just kind of like a one and done, or let's do a bit more of a jumping off point. But with Superman basically 9/11ing his own city, just zero regard for civilian casualties.
Yeah. And Brandon from Trey said, Pa Kent was in a weird place after getting married to Martha Manhunter. Yeah.
oh,
We'll
I'll
get
get to that in my next entry on this list. But it's a movie that I think is so strong for its first 2 acts, but it completely fumbles the ball as far as like building a character arc. And this has some great Superman moments. I really like Henry Cavill as Clark. I like the internal struggle that he's going through in this movie about, I want to do right by humanity, but I'm still trying to figure that out. And the one time that we fucking see Superman smile in this entire universe, it is in that first flight.
mm, yeah. It wasn't when he kissed Lois and it came back to just
Mm.
fucking rubble. Like the whole destruction took around. Like there's no fucking city
Just
left, bro.
making out with Lois in the middle of the apocalypse.
Like there's no fucking city left, bro. Like where you
You
gonna
know,
take her out for a date? Like where the fuck you gonna go?
yeah, don't even bother trying to bring other Superman characters. Like, I'll take you to my favorite spot, Bibbo's. Oh, he's dead.
Yeah. Number 7. What's your
Okay,
movie?
number 7, and I'm kind of cheating a little bit also, but it is Zack Snyder's Justice League. Yeah, I spent a majority of my early years on this show shit talking the very idea of a Snyder cut. And when it finally came out, and you can look up the review on the channel, I actually really dug it. It was
Mm,
like it felt like a more cohesive version and more fully realized DC cinematic universe and more the actual epic nature of all of these heroes coming together. I felt like characters like the Flash and Cyborg actually got to be real people, and the real standout of this was Ray Fisher as Cyborg. Um, Characters felt more true to who they were as set up in this universe, but all the same problems that I have with the theatrical cut of Justice League, they are still here.
You know, I just noticed something, when
Mhm.
I watched this movie. Like, he just let that car just kinda fl he didn't take care of that car at all. Like, that car coulda hit somebody, it
Yeah.
blew up,
Yeah,
like
yeah, and that's a whole flaw of the DCEU is like these heroes do not give a single solitary fuck about civilian casualties.
oh, man. I saw it just recently, so I've just
Mhm,
seen Zack Snyder. I hadn't never seen it because I wasn't on the review when you guys did it, so I
mhm.
was like, "Oh, well, fuck, I guess I don't need to see it then, you already did a review for it." Um, but I'll get into my thoughts on it, when I do, my ranking here. But yeah. So you have this pretty high up, so you really dug this. This is a vast improvement over Joss Whedon's Justice League.
Yeah, it's an improvement over Joss Whedon's Justice League, and I feel like an improvement over both of Zack Snyder's previous uh batting attempts at this universe.
Mm, okay,
Still not a good movie, but for as low expectations as I had, I felt like it was fine.
okay. 6.
Okay, number 6 is James Wan's Aquaman. For as
Aquaman.
stupid as this fucking movie is, and for as much of a muddled mess as it is, structure-wise, because it is tackling so many different stories. It's tackling the Throne of Atlantis, it's tackling his origin story, it's tackling the Trench, it's tackling Black Manta. And if you made a movie focusing on any one of those, you could have something really great and spectacular. But it is kind of a overstuffed mess, but it's still a fun movie. And that's the biggest compliment I can give to the first Aquaman. It is like even the action set pieces, all of them are very fun to watch, and it's all in that style that James Wan is only improved on in films like his Fast and the Furious movie, and even in the third act of *Malignant*.
Mm,
But the
yeah,
big flaw of this is you're trying to set up this grand romance between Aquaman and Mera, and they have no chemistry.
yeah.
I was like,
And
how Amber Heard got to this prominent of a career as an actress, I will never know.
well, she is beautiful.
Oh wait, she's hot. Never mind.
Yeah. And for some reason, she was British in the Zack Snyder Justice League, like,
Yeah,
they just forgot about that, I
that was
guess.
a yeah, but also this was working off of the theatrical cut
Yeah.
where she didn't have the British accent, which that's just a baffling decision. Wait, really?
Yeah, I was like, "Wait, she had a British accent at one point in this universe? Like, what the fuck happened to that?" Um, okay, sure. Let's go with it.
Yeah, but
Um,
but visually, I think this is a movie that this is probably one of the first movies in this universe that embraces the comic book nature of it.
mm,
Because so many of these movies, I feel like they're almost embarrassed to be associated with comic books,
mm,
as far as like that light, more pulpy tone of him.
mm. Yeah, I will say that, and Jason Momoa, I think, he's Aquaman, good old my man. He's
Woo!
yeah, he's
My man!
yeah, Aqua Bro, showing up, there, which I think he kinda works there. I mean, it wouldn't be my first choice for Aquaman, but hey, I think he kinda sells it a little bit in
It
his
really
character.
works. You also get Patrick Wilson as a Ocean Master, who is awesome in this movie, even if he is playing it so straight that you can't help but be charmed by him. And also, it gave us Yahya Abdul Mateen as a Black Manta, who the big problem is, again, because the movie is so overstuffed, he kind of gets the short end of the stick. But you get a montage of him setting up his equipment to Depeche Mode, which was fun.
Mhm. So what's your number 5 movie?
Okay, my number 5 movie, and it was one of the movies that gave me a little bit more hope for this universe, and that was Birds of Prey, and the fantabulous emancipation of one Harley Quinn. It was the first R-rated movie in this universe, the one first intentionally released R-rated movie in this universe. It's Harley, uh, kind of recovering after her breakup with the Joker, getting to introduce more characters in this universe, like Mary Elizabeth Winstead, who plays the Huntress, Journey Smollett, who plays Black Canary. No, because she's also black, and also Rosie Perez, who plays Renee Montoya. I loved the chemistry of between all the lead actors in this movie. I liked a lot of the action set pieces, and the movie's second unit director was Chad Stahelski, so it kind of has that like level of choreography and intensity as a movie like John Wick, and also Probably my favorite villain performance in this is Ewan McGregor as Black Mask, who is not playing the character from the comic. He is playing it more like a very flamboyant Elton John as a crime lord, but it is so fun to watch.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, this movie didn't do very well like a lot of these
Mhm,
DC movies. I think if you just called it Harley Quinn and Friends or
mhm,
something and said The Birds of Prey, super
mhm.
catalytic, fragilocious, fucking emancipation, proclamation of the, Constitution, you know what I mean, then I think it would've probably done better. And I did like a lot of the cast of this, like Mary Elizabeth Winstead. I think she's good at what they do with her, making her like she's so socially
Yeah, she
unadjusted.
she is yeah, she is awesome at killing people. It's just everything else that comes with being a vigilante in this world, she kinda sucks at.
Yeah.
Like,
So yeah.
that whole scene of her, like, rehearsing her lines in the mirror was funny to me.
That was I thought that was pretty good there. Yeah, I thought it was decent. I thought Kathy, Yan, I think is her name,
Yeah,
Yan?
Kathy Ann is a director who I feel like is it kinda got the short end of the stick because I feel like this movie was kind of set up to fail because the movie was barely marketed, the trailers of this were awful. And
Mm,
off the trailers, I was not looking forward to this movie at all. At the end, I feel like she is a very talented director as far as like directing her actors, learning from a lot of the more experienced second unit people as far as like directing action set pieces. And I dug the hell out of it, especially with this is kind of like the DC universe's answer to Deadpool, as far as like breaking the fourth wall, as far as like playing around with its structure, but it was always engaging off of that.
I'm curious, I still never saw this just based on the trailers.
Yeah, and yeah, it's a thing about a bad trailer can completely ruin a movie.
Mm, yeah. So that's your number 4. I mean, that's your number 5. What's your
Yeah.
number 4?
All right, number 4, it's the one that, kind of gave me a little bit of hope for the DC universe. It's like, Batman v Superman sucked, Suicide Squad sucked, but Wonder Woman kind of great.
Color. You finally got color
Color. It's like,
in the
"Oh my
DCU.
god, what are these? My eyes!" It's like there's color in this world. You get to see our first proper film with Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman, getting to have a period piece, get it set back in World War I, which this movie I think kind of fairly got a lot of comparison to Captain America: The First Avenger, which a lot of that is warranted, but it felt like it was still doing something on its own that had some charm to it. The highlight of this is the chemistry between Gal Gadot and Chris Pine as Diana and Steve Trevor, getting to see the world of Themyscira, getting to enjoy that a little bit of going back in time in this universe. And I feel like the arc that Diana goes through in this movie, it is very compelling stuff. The big weakness of this movie is its villains who are just overly cartoonish, where everything else in the movie kind of feels a little bit more grounded. And the third act that I think really just descends into a blotchy CGI mess and kind of undercuts a lot of what Diana's arc was in this movie. Because the whole idea is like her learning that it's like Ares has nothing to do with this war, and killing him isn't going to solve everything. And it's like learning that humans are flawed, absolute monsters of people, but because there is so much potential for kindness and warmth, that we deserve a chance to live. But then the movie undercuts that by the second after she kills Ares, everything is all hunky dory again.
Yeah. And Raiden from Truth actually researched the real Lerdonoff historical figure, and he was even more ridiculous in real life. That's the Danny Houston
Yeah.
guy there that he plays.
Which if I had a nickel for every time Danny Houston played a just ridiculously over the top villain in a comic book movie, I'd have two nickels.
Yeah. And this is the 4th movie in the DCU.
Mhm.
After Man of Steel, Dawn of Justice, Batman v Superman, Dawn of Justice, and Suicide Squad, this was Wonder Woman.
Yeah,
Uh,
this was the fourth movie in the franchise and the only one that actually had a certified fresh on Rotten Tomatoes.
Coming to the close of your list, man. Number 3.
Ooh, okay. Number 3 is a more recent entry on this list, and there wasn't room for it on my honorable mentions last year, but it's Blue Beetle. A movie that I felt like it's a very fun standalone, but there's enough in this that it kind of connects to the DC extended universe. I loved Sholomar Dueña's performance as Jaime Reyes. I loved his family dynamic, even his chemistry with Jenny Cord, who's played I think wonderfully by Bruna Marquezine in this. I thought all of it worked really well. Where this movie kind of falls short is like there's nothing in this that isn't done better in other comic book movies, but it is still so charming in its own right.
Mm. Much like Shazam,
Mhm.
what's good about this movie is the
Mhm.
family aspect of bringing that together. And even though this movie, like people say, like seeing it, it's like now we're in 2020. At this time, this movie came out 2023.
Mhm.
It's like all these elements that you're doing. It's like, man, seen a lot of this before. Seen a lot of elements
Mhm.
of things like Iron Man or Spider Man.
Mhm.
And I was happy Blue Beetle, who's a D-list, C-list character in the
Yeah.
DCU, getting his own movie.
Yeah, it's like my only exposure to Blue Beetle really was the Young Justice series and Injustice 2, the video game.
Yeah. So I was
So
like,
he,
hey,
he was a character I didn't know a lot about, and it was cool to, see a little bit more of him, widely known, especially with an actor like Sholomar Dueña, who I love off of Cobra Kai, and getting a little bit more asked of him, getting to be a little lead in a big blockbuster movie, and he carries this well.
yeah. This also was another one I didn't do too well.
Mhm.
I thought it was better than Aquaman and the Flash and
Yeah, it's the
Black
best
Adam.
DC. It is the best DCEU movie that came out in the last 2 years, and
Yeah.
I'm not even exaggerating.
All right. Number 2, man. What you
Okay,
got?
number two, it is David Sandberg's Shazam. This movie, it is ever since I first saw it, it has been on my Christmas rotation list. Getting to see the origin of Billy Batson, getting to see a lot of this family dynamic, which is kind of a common theme of a lot of these movies that I really like in this universe. The chemistry there, Zachary Levi's performance as the character, as well as Asher Angel, I thought this is the movie that they were on the same page. Seeing the action set pieces, seeing the more coming of age story elements of this, I thought worked really well. Where this movie kind of is in its villain with Mark Strong playing Dr. Savannah. He's kind of like a overly evil villain for evil's sake. But where this movie ends up, I had a great time with.
Yeah,
And it
true.
also has the biggest emotional gut punch out of all of these movies.
True. Yeah, it's good. Movie's got everything. It's got family. It's got good story about kid becoming a hero. It's got bullies beating the shit out of a crippled kid. It's got everything you need.
Yeah, the biggest bitch of bullies in I've seen just going into that Stephen King level. It's like,
Uh,
what kind of a bitch you gotta be to pick on the crippled kid?
hey man, equal rights, man. Equal rights. Everybody can get
Hands
even
are
a
E, hands are E for everyone.
this is what y'all wanted, right? There you go. About the real guy in Wonder Woman. Raven Street said the real guy went by himself to an enemy castle and he was outnumbered by and pounded on the gate, demanding surrender. You sure that wasn't he didn't have that Ronald Reagan level dementia there? You sure? Probably, I think that's probably it. Um, yeah. So number 2. Why is this number 2 for you?
This is number two because this is the first DCEU movie that I legitimately love because it's so much of with a director like David Sandberg, he is a mostly a horror director, and this is the moment where it was him balancing that more lighthearted comic bookiness of what we want out of a character like Shazam, and also that outright horror, especially in the scenes of the seven deadly sins just rampaging and murdering people.
Yeah, because this was done by David Sandberg, and David Sandberg, there, yeah, so this was directed by him.
Mm,
And he's done things like Annabelle Creation and Lights Out, 2
mm.
horror movies. He did that.
Yeah, two fantastic horror movies.
Yeah. All right, your number 1 DCEU
All right.
film, and what is it?
Number one was the redemption of one of my worst movies of this franchise, which was the worst one, and that is James Gunn's The Suicide Squad. Because
Mm,
like James Gunn, he does what he did so well with Guardians of the Galaxy, and really having this fundamental understanding of what this book is and what makes these characters so charming. With the Suicide Squad, is like you don't get the A or B or C or even D listers, you get the Z list, and you get to have them in this like overwhelming odds in this black ops mission, and getting to see their character dynamics, getting to see explore this kind of like found family. Great performances all around, especially Idris Elba, who plays Bloodsport in this, Daniela Melchior, who this was a star-making performance for her. John Cena, who plays a Peacemaker, giving us foundation for one of my favorite shows of the last couple years, giving us an actual sense of stakes with the Suicide Squad, which David Ayer failed so horribly at.
Mm, yeah. And he did the Suicide Squad because all these people gone.
Dead in the
Dead.
first 5 minutes.
First 5 minutes there.
Yeah, it felt like legitimately nobody was safe, which
Yeah.
is the whole like idea of a Suicide Squad movie, and also giving some redemption to one of the more like just characters of this universe with Rick Flag, who's played by Joel Kinnaman. And when he dies in the movie, I felt legitimate heartbreak.
Mm,
It was like
yeah.
you put the two of them together as like a Suicide Squad 2016 Rick Flag. It was like, where was he on January 6th?
Yeah, I love I think Suicide Squad is definitely one of the few, not even good, but great movies of the
Mhm,
DCEU. Like I said, the bar ain't that high when you look at the rest of the competition. They're like
mhm.
making my list. It was like
Yeah, it was like
after the first 3, it was kind of like
yeah,
whatever, I guess.
yeah, like if I were to do like a tier list, the only one that I would put in the S tier is the Suicide Squad.
Mm,
Everything
yeah.
else, it's like the high bar is like A, I'd probably put Shazam in, but everything else is like B to D to F.
Mm. Yeah. So that was your list ranking the DCEU, man.
Mhm.
I already talked about much of these movies already, so I won't go too long with it, but I'll pull up my list right here. We kind of somewhat similar.
Mhm.
See if you can have any surprises for you. For gonna be surprised. So I got the bottom,
Mm.
Suicide
Okay.
Squad. So I have that one. That's my very last one.
Mm.
The second to last one, again, I was trying to see like maybe Aquaman 2, maybe
Mhm.
The Flash. I put Black Adam as the second to last one. Why did I put Suicide Squad dead last? Let's start with that. I don't think this has very much
Oh,
any,
you don't want no beef? You don't want no beef?
and that was the first time we've seen a live action Joker since Heath Ledger. That was like 8 years after, almost a decade after, by the way.
And it is one of the most baffling performances I've seen in my entire life, because just I'm trying to put myself in the head of a studio executive. And like seeing that performance, I'm like, yo, can we just like cancel this shit?
Uh, um, very little redeeming quality about this movie. Don't like the look of this movie. I think it does introduce us to some, good characters like Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn, Viola Davis as Amanda Waller. I think those are good casting choices. Also, Jack Courtney as
Mhm.
Captain Boomerang, I think was also a good choice, and he's
Mhm.
better. And James
That's
Gunn, this was
yeah, it's like the one time that Jai Courtney could actually prove he can act was when you let him speak with his natural voice.
yeah. I think that was good. This whole story about like them trying to fight the Enchantress, like that's what you call the Suicide Squad for.
Yeah,
That was
it was too big scale for this team.
Yeah. Also, this team assembled for the purpose of fighting Superman. Who the hell in this team could even stand a chance against Superman? These are all just regular people with like equipment.
It's
Like,
like most of them, their entire power is they have guns.
yeah. Don't know why that would be a thing. It's like we're going to try to assemble a team to stop Superman. He would wipe through this team in like a point of a second, like zero point one
It'd
second.
be like Homelander going after that mob of protesters.
Yeah, like that was dumb. Terrible dialogue here as well. Really,
Awful.
really awful. David Ayer, I know he says like he wants to, he's done now, but he originally said he wanted to do release his David Ayer cut of this.
Motherfucker, I've seen your other movies. The bar was not. It's like you weren't gonna go higher than this.
Yeah, like, bro, I don't think unless you just make a whole new movie, I don't
The
think there's
man just,
nothing.
yeah, and it's more egregious. The man just has such a cholo fetish that he turned the palest white dude in history of pale white dudes into a cholo with the Joker.
Yeah, which I was glad that didn't make an appearance in The Beekeeper. I don't think that was really
Uh,
gonna. Yeah. So that's my dead last one. Black Adam, second to last. You take one of the most charismatic guys in Hollywood and you just make him a kind of a stoic type figure
mhm.
with Black Adam here. again, another kinda anti-hero type thing you try to do with Venom and Joker, even the Suicide Squad. I understand, like, but the problem with those movies, like, what they're doing, like, with Venom, and then they're gonna be doing, White Panther with Kraven the Hunter and shit. It's just like, if you're turning these people into kinda hero-ish type people, then how you gonna make it believable they're gonna fight the actual hero? Like, how you gonna
Mhm.
make it believable that this dude's gonna fight Spider-Man or Black Adam's gonna fight Shazam, who's his main, but then they try to make it like apparently The Rock didn't like that, so he's like, "No, I gotta be fighting the top dog. I gotta be fighting Superman."
Yeah,
Um,
and then him trying to, like, take over the DC universe and build it all around him.
yeah, with Superman, this is the last appearance, I think, of Henry
Mhm.
Cavill. Superman is in this
Yeah,
as a stinger.
yeah,
They didn't know
and
what the fuck.
it's like, yeah, this movie bombed critically and financially so hard, it actually made The Rock take a step back and, "You know what? I want to try being an actor again." Because
He's
he's
trying to do
doing the
A24,
Mark yeah, he's doing the A24 movie directed by Benny Safdie.
which I'm looking forward to. I'm
Yeah.
hoping, let's see what he does with that. The JSA stuff, I agree with you. I like that. Maybe it's because I'm a DC fan, so I like the
Mhm,
JSA stuff. Aldous Hodge, I liked him as Hawkman. I've liked him all the way back when he was on Leverage. I liked him. So
mhm,
here, I just don't think they do really good stuff with the JSA. They look cool and there's some good moments,
mhm,
but like Pierce Brosnan as Doctor Fate, it's cool to see live action Doctor Fate. I mean, he was on TV like Smallville and things like
mhm,
that, but here's like big screen Doctor Fate, and he looks cool.
mhm.
A lot of people comparing him to Doctor Strange, though. It's like, oh, is that the same
Which,
guy?
that's fair.
Which, that's the thing when you start to see a lot more of these, it's like Blue Beetle, like, when you start to
Mhm,
see a lot more of these, like, DC, Marvel making superhero movies, it's like, you're gonna see the overlap. You're gonna see a
mhm.
lot of these characters like Catwoman, Black Cat. It's like you're gonna see the big overlap between these 2 companies
Yeah,
and these kind of
even
characters.
even like in the early days of the DC universe, there was like a rumor that that Gareth Evans, who directed The Raid, he was going to do a Deathstroke film starring Joe Manganiello, who appears in Zack's in both versions of Justice League. And like I was excited for it because a it's a Gareth Evans action movie, but also I was kind of worried that so much of the criticism is going to be that it looks so much like Deadpool.
Yeah. So that's kind of the thing there. The Flash I have after this. This is my number 14th one. The Flash.
Ooh.
Um, this is kinda 14 because there are some okay emotional moments here with Ezra Miller, with Barry Allen and the mom. I
Mhm.
think it's okay.
Yeah. But
Um,
yeah, but 1% of greatness doesn't make up for 99% bullshit.
yeah, Ron Livingston, who they completely just forgot about Billy Crudup. They said, "Fuck Billy Crudup." They just
Uh,
got rid of him as Barry said.
I think he was busy shooting the morning show, which, good for him because he got an Emmy nom for it.
Yeah, I like Ron Livingston, I guess, is the dad. He's okay. Michael Keaton returning, I wasn't even really that jazzed on it because his performance in it, because it's like, he's just doing, quotes from Batman '89. It's like a lot of what it boils down to, and they waste Michael Keaton Batman when he should be Batman, Bruce Wayne again in a Batman Beyond movie, not wasting him
Mm,
fucking here in the Flash. Um, and I'm still want my Batgirl movie. I still want Batgirl with him as
goddamn
Batman.
right I do.
At least I still want that. And you forgot about Batgirl for this shit, hinging your hopes on this, the Flash, and it's just like, yeah, this failed.
Yeah, it was like this
Back
entire movie was banking on nostalgia for the '89 Batman, which
yeah,
why would you pick this over Batgirl, which has that built-in connection? Has, J.K. Simmons returning as Jim Gordon from the Justice League movie. Let him actually be a character in this. Have, directed by, 2 guys who made a very solid movie with Bad Boys for Life.
yeah. So that's why this is 14. Number 13 movie is, I got Aquaman 2. Yeah, this is also another terrible movie that came out for DC last year. Like I said, I only really like the team up between Patrick Wilson and Jason Momoa, their combo buddy cop kind of thing. That's about it. Um, I do like they spend most of the time in Atlantis, but a lot of the time
Mhm,
feels like the Star Wars prequels where
mhm.
it's like, they go to like a casino place and they go to like a like 50s kind of bar, like how you had in the prequels where he goes like a 50s diner and shit. It's like you start to think about it, it's like, why would they have a concept of this in the future? And it's like, what's
It
going on
yeah, it
here?
was like you're at the bottom of the ocean. How would you have a concept of this?
You
I
know,
was like, how it's like Orton doesn't even know what a cheeseburger is. It's like, how would you know like this ultra specific element of the human world?
so that was was kind of stupid, but kind of fun if you could better break that down and like the like Atlantis and everything. And then yeah, Murder Matrice, it had Martin Short as Dexter character. Yeah, had him on the voice there. Um, yeah, I mean, I think that, and then that was kind of somewhat interesting, but they didn't really build upon that. Uh, it feels like they just dropped this movie on its head. Like they were like,
Mhm.
even after a $1 billion success that was Aquaman, they just felt like let's not build upon that because we're gonna scrap everything anyway. We're gonna just start over. So this didn't really have much of a chance here. So that was kind of why it's my 13th movie, and then it's above the Flash and something like Black Adam because like the Flash has that catastrophic ending. That ending is terrible. What they do with that
Mhm.
whole what they call it what was that
Fuck.
sphere something I
Oh, the
forgot
time sphere.
Chrono Bowl, wasn't it
Oh, the
called? Like,
the
Chrono Bowl?
Chrono Ball.
Yeah, that was fucking stupid. So
Yeah,
yeah.
and not just it was fucking stupid, it looked awful.
Yeah, that's
It's some
kinda
of the worst CG I've seen in my entire life, and yeah, all this, like, Andy Muschietti's, like, backtracking is like, it's supposed to look like that. It's like, "My cap senses are tingling!"
So yeah, that's why it's kind of above a lot of these other ones. Got a little I didn't dislike it, as much as these ones. 12, I got Batman v Superman
Mhm,
here. This is kinda far down. Like I said, when you reviewed it, I like Ben Affleck as Batman, I like Jeremy Irons, I like the introduction of Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman.
mhm,
I just hate the fact that this is what, the 3rd movie,
mhm.
no, the 2nd movie,
Yeah,
in the
this is
DC.
the second movie in the DC universe, and you're already trying to establish Batman, you're trying to follow up Man of Steel, you're trying to introduce the Justice League, which
Yeah.
how they handle it is the like cringiest. It's like reminding me of Amazing Spider-Man 2. It's like, how do they introduce the other members of the Justice League? YouTube.
Yeah, JPEG files, you know what I mean? Clips on there on fucking the computer there. And like all the plot themes in here are stupid. And then I'll include also this with the Ultimate Edition too as well. Um,
Oh,
uh,
infirmary.
did you like Lex Luthor Melissa and Elderly Business with Jolly Ranchers? That was kind of a highlight. I don't know. He did give him the good Jolly Rancher. He gave him the
Yeah,
cherry
but
flavor.
it feels like Jesse Eisenberg didn't understand the type of character he was supposed to be playing because Lex Luthor, he's not this like ADHD just rolling on Adderall and cocaine little shithead. He's like supposed to be the 4D chess master of this universe. He's supposed to be this universe's answer to the Kingpin.
Yeah. Which I kind of with Jesse Eisenberg, I understand it's
I
like
when I
maybe
s-
he
when I heard it, especially off of the Social Network, it was like, "Oh, this is actually like legitimately great casting." And then I saw the movie.
And with Jesse Eisenberg, I understand we was kind of going for again playing Mark Zuckerberg again, another like
No,
modern day.
he's not even playing Mark Zuckerberg in this. He's playing like this like little trust fund shithead high on Adderall and cocaine.
So thought he would have been a good real. A lot of people thought that too
Yeah.
afterwards that he would buy a bit of
Yeah,
distance.
and the big thing, he's not playing it as Lex Luthor. He's playing it as the Joker.
Yeah. Um, like I said, trying to bring all these characters together in your second movie is a mess. Trying to build up all these elements. Then doing the death of Superman here in this one, he gets killed by Doomsday
Yeah,
in
and
your second.
yeah, hey man, when that happened, feel anything?
No, not really. I thought that was kinda terrible, and then Doomsday looked like a fucking Lord of the Rings troll. Yeah, I thought this was yeah, that's why it's kinda 12 here. Above Aquaman because, like I said, Ben Affleck is a good Batman, Gal Gadot is pretty alright as Wonder Woman. It's got kinda that going for it a little bit, and the Ultimate Edition, it expands some themes and fleshes out a little bit more, but it still doesn't make sense. It doesn't, there. Justice League, number 11. So this is the Joss Whedon Justice League. Um, it's kind of filled with a lot of crappy, hammy jokes that
Mhm,
don't land, that don't work at all. Them trying to punch it up, trying to make it like Avengers 2.0. That this doesn't fit at all. Uh, you do bring back, like I said, Ben Affleck's Batman, Gal Gadot. This time you add Aquaman, you add Jason Momoa, you add Cyborg, the Flash here. Um, and all these people, like again, Jason Momoa was fine as Aquaman.
mhm,
Ray Fisher's Cyborg, you see what happened, like, you can see why he was so upset because when you see with Zack
mhm.
Snyder's Justice League, he was the heart of
Yeah,
that movie.
after seeing Zack Snyder's Justice League, I completely apologize for all the shit I talked about Ray Fisher leading up to that movie.
Yeah, and,
I'd say fuck you after seeing Rebel Moon, but
the treatment that he got on set, I mean, he was right, and nobody real
Mhm,
not a lot of people backed him up on it, and that was kind of a shame there. But yeah, this just feels like you're just trying to do Avengers. You're trying so
Mhm,
hard to crib the Marvel style, and it fails spectacularly there with that. And it's another movie where it feels so jam packed because you're trying to include all these new characters that you haven't even
mhm.
established yet, and you're not
And
doing a good job.
and trying to do it in a studio mandate under 2 hours.
Yeah. So that's why it's just this movie's all a mess. Better than Batman v Superman because shorter. I think it's somewhat shorter, and then it's a little bit slow.
It's shorter, Superman actually feels like Superman.
Yeah, and it flows a little bit as far as,
Mm,
like, the plot is, like, you understand the goals of the plot
mhm,
more of, like, what people are trying instead of this Batman, so I was like, "I don't know, like, this none of the shit that people are doing makes sense in this." Number 10, Wonder Woman 84. Contradicts stuff that was previously told
mhm,
to you in the other DCEU movies with Wonder Woman, that she wasn't active at all after the first Wonder Woman.
mhm.
Um, cool trailer, though, I like the trailer, the old
Yeah.
80s theme kinda
Hey,
trailer.
epic version of Blue Monday is awesome.
You know, by yeah, Blue Monday, yeah. Cool trailer, I like that, like the '80s kinda theme. When you actually get to the movie, fucking mess. Another thing where it's like the wishes is such a basic kinda
Doesn't it do
concept.
it doesn't make sense, and I get what they were going for. This was trying to, be kind of like a look at that kinda attitude of the '80s of, like, ridiculous excesses, like, "Hey, greed is good." Reframing Maxwell Lord as kind of like this Gordon Gekko type.
Yeah. Rafe Maturity said, how did they miss it being about the Cold War? Yeah, '80s could have brought in another war aspect there of like
Mhm.
the Cold War. Could have maybe done, but maybe you just didn't gonna go like, well, we're doing the exact same thing maybe as Wonder
Yeah,
Woman, but
have it be more of an espionage thriller because, let's be honest, that's how the Cold War was fought.
and like, Patty Jenkins with this, I think wanted to do you see the style of this movie? I
Mhm,
think when we reviewed it, I said trying to be more like Sam Raimi Spider-Man or Christopher
mhm,
Reeve Superman. That's what Patty Jenkins, I think, wanted to do with this, like
mhm,
making Wonder Woman more of that type of figure, which in the opening, I think kind of works. You know what I mean?
mhm.
I think that kind of works. But the message of this movie doesn't really is not very
Yeah,
strong
it's
of
like,
like,
"Hey, don't aspire to be anything better than what you are." Yeah.
don't
You want to, lose weight, better your life, get a little healthier? Fuck you.
the whole concept of like, like wishing and wishing is like, don't wish for something. And then and like you see the montage of that of like her giving this speech is like, some people don't all wish for vain things. Like some people wouldn't
Mhm.
just wish to be famous. Like there was a scene where a kid is his mom is getting beat up, and then it's I guess the kid fuck that kid whose mom is getting beat up because he's wishing for that. Like that doesn't even make any like what? Like what are we talking about here? Yeah, Pascal's good as the villain, Maxwell
Mhm.
Lord. He's fine there.
He's the one person that I feel like knows what he is in.
Kristen Wiig is cheated. Coulda worked if you
Mhm.
knew how to really do it well and work that out.
Yeah, it's like if her and Gal had more screen time together, more chemistry before all this stuff with the wishing stone happens, then it could have worked.
And like Raven Maturity said, they made her a rapist. I don't know why they did that. Like, I don't know why you just didn't have it where they just brought him back to life. Why did he have to take over
or
another dude's
or
body?
have or have like the emotional conflict with her, like, because it's like her like monkey's paw is that she gets her boyfriend back but she's losing her powers, instead of the more interesting one of, she gets her boyfriend back, but it's robbing this poor schmuck of his life and his independence,
Yeah.
and
That
having that be like the moral conflict of the movie.
Yeah, and I was so disappointed because I love the first Wonder Woman,
Mhm.
so I was looking forward to the sequel, and yeah, this was really, really disappointing here. Uh,
Yeah, and Emperor Maturity, her turns toward villainy starts with her nearly being sexually assaulted. So why does the hero in the same story also assault somebody?
yeah,
And Cheetah's like villain turn is her getting payback on her would-be assaulter, and that's treated as a villain turn.
yeah. Number 9, Shazam, Fury of the Gods. Much like with Wonder Woman, really loved the first Shazam movie a
Mhm,
lot. I liked it a lot. I thought it was a good surprise, in the DCU amongst all the kind of the bad movies. So again, I was like looking forward to the sequel of this, see what they do upon and how they build upon things. Still like the family element. I like that stuff, like how it's like a team. They're like more of a team of heroes now.
mhm.
I like that. That was kind of the only interesting aspect of the movie. The other kind of Greek mythology stuff with the villains, Helen Mirren, Lucy Liu, not that so interesting there. Um, the magical kind of stuff there, like, it's not as good.
Yeah,
But
the complete retconning of Jimon Hounsou from the first movie, I was like, yeah.
what do you mean? How do they retcon them?
No, because like he dies at the after he gives Billy his
Oh,
powers in the first movie.
oh, okay. Well, I was glad he was back. I liked him
Mhm.
being back there.
Yeah, I
Um,
liked all of his scenes with Jack Dylan Grazer.
who that's basically his movie. I mean, it's
Mhm.
basically Jack Dylan Grazer's movie. Not say he wasn't bad. I actually liked him quite a bit there. I thought he was good. And like you said, Zachary Levi and Aster Angel on two different pages of playing Shazam. Man, it's like they just they need to get on the same page of how they were playing the character there because that just it didn't line up there. But yeah, that was kind of basically it. Just kind of a nothing of a movie. It's kind of like
Mhm.
it just didn't offend me as much as like 84 Wonder Woman or a
Mhm.
mess like Justice League there. Speaking of Justice League, so number 8 is Zack Snyder's Justice League. So I finally saw this very recently. And then when I heard the word about it, like, hey man, this is much better than Joss Whedon's Justice League,
Mhm.
and Zack Snyder's finally, he was
I
just
mean, I mean, all of that is technically correct.
and yes, I do agree. It is better than Joss Whedon's Justice League. It's not jam packed with shitty jokes and humor that they try to force in here. 4 hour long movie, and they do flesh out a lot more stuff, especially like Cyborg
Mhm.
and Flash. With Cyborg, he's the heart of this movie. He really is kind of the heart of this movie and what
Mhm.
they do with them here.
Yeah,
Um,
it's the one time you see a hero actually committing a genuine act of altruism.
yeah. So I did kinda like those elements, and then it feels better paced out than the Justice League.
Mhm.
Joss Whedon Justice League is
Yeah,
more time to breathe.
yeah, and for a 4-hour movie, I felt like the pacing was actually pretty solid.
Yeah. So seeing them all kinda interact, get together, that was better, I think, here than it was in Joss Whedon's Justice League.
Yeah,
Again,
Batman doesn't feel as superfluous as he does in the Zack Snyder Justice League.
um, and this I still do think, I mean, Batman still in this feels like he just got an A because he was a part of the group project. I mean, it just seemed like everybody else was
I
really
I
doing
mean
the
I mean, there are scenes where he is also, given he's throwing hands with parademons more than he was in the theatrical cut.
I still kind of feel that way. And then also, I just making everybody kind of like, I just don't really like Zack Snyder's view of heroes, really. And that
Mhm,
because I mean, he treats everyone so weak. I mean, compared to Superman, I get Superman is the guy, but
mhm.
everyone else is so weak and compared, like they can't even really barely even fight a lot of the
Well
parademons.
well, that's
Uh,
also, like, a thing in DC Comics where Superman is just on this, like, a whole, like, multiple tiers above most of the heroes. It is a goddamn miracle that he was raised right by Ma and Pa Kent.
mhm. Um, so yeah, I think that's kind of there of like treating these heroes more as like not very relatable really as much. It's like very much idols there. I think of like
Mhm,
Superman and some of these characters. Cyborg, I think he makes them feel
mhm.
human and relatable there, but I think a
Yeah,
lot of
and whereas in the theatrical cut, it was, like, the first time Superman felt like Superman. He's a straight up psychopath in this movie. It's like how he lays into Steppenwolf at the very end.
yeah.
He does it with glee.
Random Truth says Simon cut sucked the life out of me with Garth and Wayne's World. Like Garth and Wayne's World there. And then he also said in the Silver Age comics, Superman could physically push 6 planets at the same time. Yeah. So, but yeah, it is better than Joss Whedon's stuff. Justice League definitely
Mhm.
does have that there. And it like I said, the pacing is better. The epilogue is trash. I don't really like the epilogue that
It's
much.
awful.
I think that's kind of pointless there, but yeah, it's just I think it's solid. I think it's okay. 7, Aquaman, the very first one, 2018. Yeah, this was the first and only $1 billion movie I think for the DCEU
Yeah,
was
it was
Aquaman.
the biggest financial success.
Who would have thought? Aquaman out of all the stuff, who would have thought? Aqua Bro Bro, Jason Momoa. I mean, he sells things
Woo!
based
My
on stuff.
man.
When you see Jason Momoa in Dune, he's Jason Momoa. When you see Jason
It
Momoa
was
in Fast and
hey,
Furious,
this man just wants to ride his motorcycle, drink Guinness, and fuck bitches.
yeah. And you see that here in some Aquaman, and all that. And Yeah, I mean, I think some of the stuff is kinda fun with him being Aquaman, and he's an interesting choice for Arthur Curry. I think kinda works out based on that. I hate the ending of this. It has that, awful CGI ending. I just fucking hate. I think that's terrible.
It gets into that awful CGI, but the final fight between Orm and Aquaman, I thought that worked really well.
That was solid. Patrick Wilson is a good villain. Yahya Abdul-Mateen is a good villain as well in this. Black Manta. Like I said, they're not really scared of the comic stuff, like comic accurate costumes,
Mhm.
everything like that. I think it's pretty
Yeah,
cool.
this is yeah, with the DC universe, this was the first movie that felt like it was embracing the inherent silliness of comic books.
Yeah. Number 6, Man of Steel. This was the very first DCE movie, as we mentioned, all the way back in 2013. So with this one, I kinda like the element of kinda doing more of the alien side of Superman, like how the movie opens up at Krypton there, and then him being sent down. I think you got good casting choices for Pa and
Mhm.
Ma Kent. I think Diane, Diane Lane, and then Kevin Costner make a good Ma and Pa Kent. I just
Mhm.
don't like the shit that they say is Ma and Pa Kent.
Yeah,
But
it's like everything about this movie, it is on paper, it is awesome. Like down to the casting, down to you're bringing back David S. Goyer, who wrote the Dark Knight trilogy. You have Christopher Nolan as a producer on this. It should work, and
yeah. So I did like some of that. I think the first half of this movie is really good, and then when it gets into the third act, like you said, Dragon Ball Z shit where they're just
mhm,
punching each other
yeah,
and crashing build.
Dragon Ball Z with zero regard for civilian casualties, unlike Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah, at least in Dragon Ball Z, they had the decency to go to like a desert. It's like, okay, let's go all the way over to this desert so nobody's around. But he's just punching people, buildings are coming down, everything is just like, holy crap. And again, I thought that was there, but him discovering his abilities and his powers, I think is kinda cool there. Again, touching more into the alien side. And I was like, even I wasn't in love with it, I was just thought it was decent. I was like, "Hey, this is a pretty maybe a solid start to this
Mhm.
universe here." There. Rating from Maturity said, "If it makes you feel any better about Ma Kent, it might have been Martian Manhunter the entire time." Yeah, yeah. Which I mean, yeah,
Yeah, that was a scene that it was like, okay, this is a very solid emotional scene between Ma Kent and
Lois
Lois
Lane.
Lane, who, yeah, look, this entire universe just reduces Lois Lane into I'm sad I can't fuck Henry Cavill anymore.
That was the thing about the epilogue there of like Martian Manhunter shows up and then he says like, "Well, I'm here if you need me." I was like, "Well, where the fuck were you when they were fighting? The end of the world was
Yeah,
happening."
and this entire emotional conversation between Martha Kent and Lois Lane, it's undercut with the reveal that it was Martian Manhunter.
Yeah, that was ridiculous. Number 5. So this is basically where we're kind of very
Mhm.
similar. I think the top 5 here. Birds of Prey, and the emancipation of the proclamation of the Constitution of Henry Ford of the assassination. There.
The assassination of Black Mass by the coward Robert Ford.
Yeah. Birds of Prey. I thought this was decent,
Mhm,
movie there. I think I enjoyed Margot Robbie coming back as Harley Quinn. I think she said she kinda wants to take a break now from
mhm,
acting and kinda focus more on producing. I think they kinda did waste her, being in Suicide Squad, being
mhm.
in,
Yeah,
um
it was like Suicide Squad, her entire, like, portrayal of Harley Quinn and how David Ayer directs her is she is a just sex sex symbol. Just let's shooting her like he's trying to give her a colonoscopy.
but I thought it was good casting though. Margot Robbie
Mhm.
is the character Harley
Yeah,
Quinn.
yeah, she's an actress that I feel like we kind of all just underrate her level of talent because she is also one of the most beautiful women on earth.
Yeah. And also I do like the rest of the cast here. Mary Elizabeth Winstead, who's hard to miss with Mary Elizabeth Winstead as
Mhm,
the Huntress. I thought she was good. I liked Journey Small's Black Canary there. Um, and I do like Rosie Perez. It's been a minute since I've seen Rosie Perez. When I saw her, I
mhm,
was like, oh yeah, Rosie Perez. It's been a minute since I've seen Rosie Perez. I know some people will say what they did with Cassandra Cain
mhm.
here is
Yeah,
very different.
that's the one flaw with this movie because canonically, Cassandra Cain is this kind of like mute child that was raised to be an assassin, and canonically is one of the few people that can take Batman on hand to hand.
Yeah. So I know some people kind of said what they did kind
Mm.
of change
It's
there.
a problem that if you just name this character anything else, I don't have this issue.
Yeah. I did like Ewan McGregor as the villain, Black Mass. Very different interpretation of Black Mass than we've seen before. Who's mostly just your stereotypical kind of thug villain character.
Mhm,
So I did like kind of his spin on it. I thought that was really good. How flamboyant he was. That was pretty good. So yeah, I mean, I think it's one of the better ones of this universe. Not totally great, but
mhm,
I think good enough there to be kind of number 5. Number 4, Blue Beetle. Blue Beetle is another one here. I think that was also in your list.
mhm.
You had it up number 2 or
Yeah, I
3?
had it number 3 on my
No,
list.
number 3. So it's number 4 here for me. Blue Beetle. I like the family aspect, much like Shazam. I think him coming in from Cobra Kai. I think this was a perfect choice to be Jaime Reyes.
Mhm.
I think he did a wonderful job here. George Lopez steals the show here. I think a lot of
Mhm.
scenes when he's in it, he's really fantastic.
Yeah, and not just being that kind of like overtly just comedian, let's laugh at everything. Even when he is called on to deliver more emotional dialogue, he nails it.
Yeah. It does feel someone was very Spy Kiddish, and I mean that kind of
Mhm.
in a good way. I don't mean that in a negative way. When they jump in the Beetle and they do the shit there, I was like, okay, that's kind of goofy but kind of fun at the same time. I thought. Yeah, I think also with this movie with Suffers is just like it's kind of derivative of all the other superhero movies. Lame villain Susan Sarandon who feels
Mhm.
like she's just sleepwalking
She is just a Karen.
yeah, who's just totally sleepwalking through this. They do have a stinger, maybe, possibly. I think James Gunn did say he wanted to continue with Blue Beetle
Mhm.
and then in his own universe, so I would like to see
Yeah,
that.
he kind of like in that whole press release announcing the slate of DC Universe projects, he like was like, okay, Blue Beetle kind of stands on its own, so maybe he comes back.
It's funny, Raven True said Goku takes the fight somewhere unoccupied like theaters where the Flash was playing. Good. He also says, I thought the Scarab could have had a more interesting
Yeah,
voice.
and that was my thing because it was like a whole thing in the news is like you got Latina pop star Becky G to do the voice for the Scarab Kaji, and it
Yeah.
just kind of sounds like a generic robot voice.
Yeah, I couldn't even tell that was her voice. Like,
Mhm.
he put so much kinda it's like when celebrities voice the Alvin and the Chipmunks, it's like, why they even have fucking, uh, Justin Timberlake is one of the Alvin and Chipmunks, like, the fuck? He put his reverb on there, but, yeah, I was kinda there. Shazam is number 3. Really enjoy Shazam a lot when I saw
Mhm.
it. Really liked it. Loved the family aspect, loved the kind of, child to hero aspect there. I thought that really worked a lot. The villain is lame in here, Mark
Mhm.
Strong, but I still think every other element, the writing of it is very strong, the direction of it is very strong. The humorous moments, how it's also kind of somewhat of a satire of superhero movies that they kind of play on that a little
Mhm.
bit with this, I thought was really good. So yeah, I thought this was really, really a strong outing for DCU, and I think a really good movie, one of the few
Mhm.
really good movies that the DCEU has. Yeah. The Suicide Squad, James Gunn. This is number 2. Great, really
Mhm.
great. Loved kind of what he did to build upon Suicide Squad there. Dave there
Yeah,
that was pretty terrible.
yeah, just the pure virtue of you made me give a shit about characters like Ratcatcher 2 and Polka Dot Man.
Yeah. And the cast was really amazing here, getting all these kind of Z-list, D-list, F-list, you know what I mean, as characters here. You
Yeah,
bring together.
letting them be as look and act as silly as comic book characters should, and still have you take them seriously in world.
Yeah, love their chemistry all together in this movie. That was really. I mean, James Gunn knows how to do a team and knows how to really do losers and make
Mhm,
losers lovable. He did that with the Guardians. He brought that here. This is one of the cases instead of like with Joss Whedon, he couldn't do that for the Justice League, but James Gunn
mhm.
was able to do that when he entered the DC with the Suicide Squad. Uh, Number 1, Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman is amazing. I think
Man,
Wonder Woman is really great. Gal Gadot. I know people talk about her acting ability.
mhm.
I
It's
don't
like
think she's a good actress, but
the best acting performance she has ever given, and I think she will ever give was in the first Wonder Woman.
Was in this movie, yeah. I thought this movie was great. I mean, fish out of water type element, I think that worked to her strengths there. It's like Keanu Reeves when he was in The Matrix. It's like I think
Mhm.
the amazement of the world kind of worked out there for him. He didn't have to do too much. I think that was good. The chemistry between her and Chris Pine was really great. Um, I liked what they did with a lot of the Amazons and showing their mascara. I thought that was really good. It was funny that they tried to have all the other Amazons match the accent of Gal Gadot. It lit for some kind of weird stuff there, but I thought that was really good, really well done. This suffers what has, I think, what a lot of these superhero movies in general just suffer from, not even DCU movies, but just like the terrible third act of like we got to have it with
Mhm.
people punch each other and fight, and then the whole stuff with Ares I thought was terrible. That kind of drags this movie
And
down.
it was a cool concept, and I liked David Thewlis as the character, but it felt completely undercut the message of the movie.
Yeah. So that just was kind of they had that in it, but was also Wonder Woman. It has one of I think also one of the best scenes in any superhero movie, like maybe top 5, top 10.
Mhm,
The No Man's Land scene is amazing. I think that's
mhm.
really well done and really
Yeah,
great.
and as much as I was like kind of hating on that initial Wonder Woman theme when I first heard it in Batman v Superman, when it finally drops in this movie, that shit fucking hits.
Mm. Yeah. Also, you did have the Wonder Woman theme. The dun-dun-dun-dun-dun-dun-dun. You know, I mean, it's rare superheroes like nowadays superheroes they don't really have themes anymore. Like you recognize, like oh, that's like back in the
Mhm.
day, like Superman, Christopher Reeves, like that was his theme. You know, like oh, this Superman's coming or
Yeah,
Batman's coming.
Batman 89, the Avengers, they have their theme.
Yeah.
I think to an extent, Giacchino's The Batman has his theme.
Black Panther, he's got his kind of theme when you know when he's coming, but Wonder Woman, she's got hers, when Wonder Woman shows up, it's like, it's her, like, but sometimes they use that terrible, like she was in Shazam too, and that comes
Yeah.
as like, oh shit, I just scared the shit out of me. That was like almost like a jump scare.
Freaking
Um,
The Flash, it was like, "Oh, you're in this."
yeah, it's just like, it's terrible. But and also I mean, they do overuse that lasso of a truth shit a lot. They overuse that for comedy bits. That was in The Flash. That was in Justice League, Joss Whedon's Justice League. They do that whole where she can be
Yeah,
the lasso of truth, and
yeah, the thing was, I thought it was funny in Justice League, and The Flash, it was just like, "Okay, this is a joke that is going on way too long."
yeah, it's like it's like okay, man, it's not being funny the first time. It's like and they do it here but this was the first time they did it was in this movie. But yeah, I
And also, initially when they use it, it is for comedy, but it's also used sincerely when Steve Trevor is like, "Okay, I'm going with you to the front," and he just wraps it around himself. We are probably gonna die.
Yeah. Ray Infantry says small nitpick with Wonder Woman, but I thought killing off all the Greek gods in an opening narration was a bad choice.
I wholeheartedly agree because a cool thing, especially I feel like Wonder Woman kind of got a little bit of renaissance in the comics with the new 52 is like the Greek gods exist in the DC universe and seeing how they play out and how they react to the events of the universe. I thought that's a cool element that if explored right could be somewhat interesting. And I feel like they're doing a show in Gunn's DC universe, Paradise Lost, which is exploring Themyscira. So potentially road.
Yeah. So that was our ranking of the DCEU. May peace be upon James Gunn's new DC universe there.
Good
Uh,
luck.
Good luck. Let's see what you do, man.
I mean, the writer's room he has so far, I feel like is very solid. The one like red flag is they have Andy Muschietti announced as directing Brave and the Bold, which
Oh, I thought he
ooh,
got kicked off that. I thought they got kicked off.
nope, he's still attached as far as I
Oh,
know.
oh, okay. Oh, we'll see.
Ooh.
Yeah.